Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so if you are a junior coder right now and you're looking for that blueprint to bridge the gap and finally become a senior engineer, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible infrastructure that powers literally everything we do online. But before we get too deep into the weeds, I want you to imagine waking up tomorrow to this reality. No Google to frantically search for that weird bug in your code. No YouTube. No cloud servers. Every single app on your phone is suddenly just a useless plastic brick overnight. I mean, it sounds like the plot of an apocalyptic movie, right? But it really highlights just how much we take the modern web completely for granted. We interact with this incredibly massive system every single day, but honestly, so few of us actually know what's keeping the lights on. And that leads us to the big, golden question. What actually happens when you type a URL into your browser and hit enter? Look, if you're a junior developer, I really want to talk directly to you for a second. Knowing how to build a beautiful, responsive UI, that is fantastic. But if you don't know how the data actually routes across oceans in a matter of milliseconds to populate that UI, you are going to hit a career ceiling fast. Most developers know how to build websites, but the great ones understand how the internet truly works under the hood. So, to master this, here is our game plan. We've got 4 key areas: the foundation of the internet, the journey of a web request, the rules and protocols of engagement, and finally, modern scale. Let's dive in. All right, part 1, the foundation, also known as the network of networks. The very first thing to wrap your head around is that the internet isn't some single place or a magical cloud. It's actually a lot like a global transportation system. Just like local roads connect to national highways, which then connect across international borders, the internet is simply millions of smaller networks stitched together into one giant global network. Your laptop, massive data centers, even your smart refrigerator, they're all just interconnected stops on these digital roads. To put this in perspective, back in the 1960s, computers were completely isolated. During the Cold War, researchers wanted a communication system that wouldn't just totally collapse if a single node went down. That led to ARPANET. And I love this story because it so brilliantly illustrates the humble beginnings of tech. In 1969, they tried to send the first message ever, the word login. Well, the system completely crashed after sending just the letters L and O. The first internet message in history was essentially a system crash. It took decades and the invention of the TCP/IP protocol before these networks could finally communicate universally, which birthed the modern internet we know today. Okay, so now that we have our global network, let's move to part 2. The journey begins. We're going to look at the actual path a web request takes, starting right from your browser. This whole journey kicks off with DNS, or the domain name system. Think of this as the internet's master phone book. Computers, as you know, don't understand words like Google.com. They strictly run on numbers. If we didn't have DNS, you'd be forced to memorize terrible, long sequences of numbers like 142.250.190.78 just to search for something online. No thank you. DNS translates those human-readable names into machine-readable IP addresses totally behind the scenes, making the web infinitely more usable for all of us. So, the crucial takeaway here is that just as physical houses have postal addresses, our devices absolutely need IP addresses so the network knows exactly where to send information. Decades ago, the older system IPv4 gave us about 4.3 billion addresses, which sounded like an impossibly huge number at the time. But between smartphones, smart TVs, and literally every IoT device today, we ran out, plain and simple. That's why IPv6 was created, which gives us a practically unlimited number of unique addresses so our global digital city can just keep on expanding. Now, once we have that address, your browser fires off its request. But here's the catch. It doesn't send it as one giant, clunky file. It slices your data up into packets. You can think of packets as tiny digital envelopes. Every single one of these packets carries its own source address, its destination address, a little tiny slice of the data, and the instructions for reassembly. And here's the crazy part. These tiny envelopes travel completely independently. They might even take completely different routes across the globe, only to be perfectly reassembled at the destination. And guys, this is happening billions of times every single second. What's really fascinating, though, is how those individual packets actually find their way. That is the job of routers. Routers are essentially the global traffic controllers of the internet. When a packet reaches a router, the router basically looks at the network and asks, okay, where should this go next? Thousands of routers are working together globally in mere milliseconds to direct your tiny envelopes around traffic jams or broken submarine cables, always calculating the absolute fastest, most efficient route. All right, our data is successfully routing across the globe. Awesome. Let's shift gears to part 3, rules of engagement, or our protocols. This is all about how data actually communicates safely and effectively once it reaches its destination. As a developer, you are going to hear TCP and UDP constantly. Understanding the difference is an absolute must. TCP prioritizes perfect reliability. It verifies every single packet. And if an envelope goes missing, it stops and demands it be resent. If you're building a banking app or an email client, you absolutely need TCP. I mean, you can't just have half a bank transfer arrive, right? UDP, on the other hand, prioritizes raw, unadulterated speed. It has zero verification. If a packet drops, it doesn't care, it just keeps going. So if you're building a live streaming app or a fast-paced multiplayer game, UDP is your best friend. Basically, TCP says make sure everything arrives, and UDP says just get there as fast as humanly possible. Building on those underlying rules, we have HTTP. This is the fundamental language that browsers and servers use to talk to each other. As a dev, you'll be speaking this language daily using requests like GET to fetch data or POST to submit it. And of course, the server talks back to you in status codes. You get a 200 OK, that means success. A 404 means you asked for something that just doesn't exist, and a 500 means the server had a catastrophic internal error. But listen, standard HTTP has a massive, glaring flaw. It sends everything in plain text. Without encryption, anyone sitting on the same coffee shop Wi-Fi network could literally just read your data packets and steal your passwords. Not good. So, by adding SSL or TLS certificates, we verify the true identity of the website. This activates HTTPS, which you'll instantly recognize as that little padlock icon in your browser's address bar. This encryption scrambles the data into absolute gibberish for anyone listening in, ensuring your passwords, credit cards, and personal info stay completely locked down from attackers. Which brings us to our final stage, Part 4, Modern Scale and Architecture. This right here is where we elevate from basic coding into the actual infrastructure that modern applications rely on at a senior engineering level. First up, to build at a massive scale, you have to understand APIs. Modern apps almost never work in total isolation anymore. They are constantly talking to each other. Think about your favorite food delivery app. It uses a mapping API to show your driver's location, a payment API to process your credit card, and a messaging API to send you a text update. APIs are the secure interfaces that let entirely different pieces of software exchange information. Mastering APIs is arguably one of the single most important concepts for a developer today. Next up, let me ask you something. How does a heavy, high-definition YouTube video load almost instantly no matter where you are sitting in the world? The secret weapon is a CDN, or a content delivery network. Instead of keeping a video on one single server in California and making a user in Tokyo wait for that heavy data to drag across the ocean, CDNs store exact copies of that content in multiple geographic locations. When that user in Tokyo clicks play, the video is actually served from a server right down their street, which dramatically reduces latency. It's brilliant. And to store all of this, we have cloud computing. Back in the day, if you built an app, you actually had to buy physical metal servers and maintain them in a literal closet. Giant tech companies like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft totally flipped software development on its head by building massive data centers and simply letting developers rent space inside them. You don't have to manage hardware anymore. You just spin up virtual servers with the click of a button. Finally, when those cloud apps get wildly popular, big tech uses a whole suite of modern architectural tools to handle the load. We're talking load balancing to perfectly distribute traffic so no single server ever crashes. Breaking massive monolithic apps into smaller, manageable microservices. Using caching to instantly remember frequent requests. Distributed databases to safely store data across the globe. And edge computing to process information as close to the actual user as physically possible. These are the exact tools that allow the giants to handle millions of simultaneous users without even breaking a sweat. And that brings us to our final thought for today. The internet is undeniably one of humanity's greatest engineering achievements. And as a developer, when you finally master these fundamentals, you realize you don't just build applications anymore. You understand the actual infrastructure powering the entire digital world. You finally get to see the matrix. But here's the real question. As this global infrastructure continues to rapidly evolve with AI and decentralized webs, what are you going to build with it next? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I'll see you in the next one.